themselves individually, as well as commit to raising a wholesome 21st century child. And as we do this collectively, we are building the kind of society that we want to see. Our mission with the Parent Summit Africa is to create a platform that equips parents with the skills, strategies, and resources for self-transformation and raising wholesome children. Our vision is to effect social and societal change through parenting education, especially to change the narrative of Africa and the African child. Hi, my name is Vivian Okoye. I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. I'm a certified child psychologist, a parent coach, and a trained doctor of optometry. Parent Summit Africa is powered by our online parenting school, the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. We started Parent Summit Africa in 2017 to gather parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant conversations around raising a wholesome 21st century child, as well as thinking about our contribution to sustainable development and nation building. We do this because we believe that at this point, our plan as a nation for sustainable development should shift its focus from just systems, institutions, and policies to actually creating a plan and strategy for a change in the attitude and mindset of its people. Because the people drive these institutions, the systems, and the policies. So if on an individual level, we're able to get it right with our attitude and our mindsets, then we can drive the institutions and policies in the right direction. Until we are able to do this, until we're able to create change in attitude and mindset on an individual level, then we will not experience any tangible change.
Hi. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the breach we had in the previous session. It was an unforeseen circumstance and there was absolutely nothing we could do about it. But we're here, and this is our final session for the Parent Summit Africa 2023. Who is excited? Please, if you're online, let me know where you're joining from. Give me some love in the comments. Let me know your name and where you're joining from before we dive right into this. And please, if it's possible, kindly share this broadcast. Share to your friends and family, get people in. This is going to be an interesting conversation and a very important conversation because everything we've learned so far, we've gotten... Thanks, Juliet, joining from South Africa. Thanks, Joy Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Everything we've learned, we've gotten a lot of information through this series and through the course of, these conversations. Now we're saying, how can we put these things into practical practice if that's not tautology, right? How can we use all of this information that we have gotten? How can we create, a parenting plan? 2024 is by the corner and we have a lot of people setting goals, creating vision boards, and all of that. You can do that as well for your parenting, right? And have a clear roadmap as to how you want to navigate, what you're supposed to be teaching, how you can review and all of that. So that's the essence of this conversation. Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you so much. Thank you, Precious, joining from Port Harcourt. Kindly share this broadcast, right? If you're just joining, kindly share this broadcast. Drop your comments. The more you drop your comments, the more the algorithm shows this video to more people. So we want to get more people in as much as we can, right? Because the message that we have, this message of conscious parenting, isn't just for us. It's our responsibility to share it to our families. It's our responsibility to share it with our communities. I always say that you have to build your village and you have to make sure that your village is learning with you, because it takes a village to actually raise a child, right? So the conversation we're having today, how to create your family's unique parenting plan. Before I start, I'd like to ask, right, Anyone hearing me? Have you ever, consciously created a parenting plan before? I like to hear. Welcome, Ezine. Welcome, Ada. Thank you so much for joining. Have you ever created a parenting plan before? If you have ever created a parenting plan, or if you haven't created one before, let me hear. Thank you, Oluwabusayomi. I hope I got it right. Joining from Abeokuta, thank you so much. So, anyone who has, have you ever created a parenting plan? Okay, Zine says no. Any other person in the comments, whether you've created or not, let me know, let me know, let me know. Do you think a parenting plan is needed? Right? Do you think that there should be a parenting plan, or should we just be going with the flow? What do you think? I want this to be as interactive as possible. You get? I don't just want it to be just me talking. So I can see your comments. So just let me know. Okay, Abimbola says no. All right. All right. Adegoke says no. I'm here to learn. All right. Okay. So this is interesting. Okay, Orji says yes. Okay, that's really interesting. All right. So anyway, whether you've created one before or you haven't created one before, this is an opportunity to learn. Like I always say, in parenting, there is no finish line. You keep learning until the day that you're no longer there for your child, right? Because with every phase, with every transition, there's something new to add to your parenting toolbox to make it work better for you. So a little bit of introduction. I always assume that everyone on the broadcast knows me, but I know that many people are joining us from different places. A lot of people have shared this broadcast, and people who haven't met me or seen me before are joining from different places. So my name is Dr. Vivian Okoye, and I am a doctor of optometry. My first degree is in optometry. So I am a doctor of optometry, which I practiced for 10 years. And I'm still practicing somehow by proxy, but I'm no longer practicing in clinic, right? And currently, I got a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I got a certificate in traumatic and stress studies. So I'm a trauma therapist. I'm the founder of Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy, and this summit, Parent Summit Africa, is powered by the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. Is like what we give from the academy, and that is why it's actually free, because it's mostly funded by the academy and then by our partners. So I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa, and I'm a speaker and an author. I've authored a couple of books, and I speak on parenting, mental health, and child mental health, adult mental health, and all those kind of things. Yeah. So this is me in a nutshell. And we are talking about how to, in case you're just joining, we're talking about how to create your family's unique parenting plan. So overview, right? What do we intend to get out of this session? Number one, we would understand what it means to have a parenting plan and why you need one. Do you get? So why do I need a parenting plan? What does it even mean to have a parenting plan? We'll learn how to create a solid plan for your family, and then you understand how to overcome roadblocks. I beg, in the course of this me showing this slide, if you see any typographical error, just ignore. It happens to me a lot, right? So so the third thing we intend to get out of this is to understand how to overcome roadblocks that should be hinder you from implementing your plan, right? And then finally, to understand how to review your plans, right? Yeah. So I'll start with this. I'm a Christian, so I might need to reference a lot from the Bible, right? I'll start with this scripture, Luke 14:28-30. And if you're not a Christian, just take the lessons. You don't have to agree, but just take the lessons, right? So it says, "Is there anyone here who planning to build a new house doesn't first sit down and figure the cost so you will know if you can complete it. So essentially what this scripture is essentially about planning, right? Before you embark on a journey, you plan. The Christmas is coming now. All of us are planning how our Christmas will be. If you're starting a degree, you plan, you have your vision in mind, what you want to do, how the grades you want to come out with. If you're getting married, you plan. If you're doing a wedding, you plan, and all of that. But then when it comes to parenting, we tend to look at it like it's not something that requires planning. It's something that, just happens by flow, or is something that just happens by instinct. And I really don't know why that is, because I believe that parenting is like one of the most delicate things, or one of the most the biggest projects that we have been given in the course of our lives, right? So I don't know why we don't approach it with that mindset that this is a project. And that personally, this is how I approach parenting. I'm constantly thinking, I have 18 years to do this. And this is year my first is 9. So I keep reminding myself this is year 9. So I essentially have about 9 more years to do this. Am I on track? Am I doing things right at year 9? Are we good? What is missing? What do we need to add? What do we need to review at 9 years? What is my child supposed to look like at 9 years? What are they supposed to know by this time? Do they know it? What responsibilities are they supposed to be handling at this age? Am I giving them the opportunity to handle those responsibilities? So because it's actually a project, right? By the time your child is even less than 18 years, because if your child will go to a boarding school, by the time your child leaves your home at 12 or 11 to go to a boarding school, you would hardly see them. You're seeing them like 3 weeks in 3 months or thereabouts, just during the school holidays. And from boarding school, if they get into uni immediately, you're hardly going to see them. And after uni, nobody prays for their children to finish uni and then come back to their home. All our prayer is that our children will finish uni and get a job and start their own life and all of that. So even if they are still living with you after uni, they're into their full adulthood, there's really so much, there's a limit to what you can do for them or what you can teach them at that time. So parenting is an ongoing process. If you miss something you're supposed to teach at 3 and you're teaching it at 6, it becomes more difficult. Now, there's no saying that you cannot teach, maybe if you have missed something. This is not to discourage someone, there's no saying that even if you have missed some milestones or some things you were supposed to teach before, there's no saying that you cannot teach them again. You can still teach them, but it's just that it just becomes more difficult for you to teach them. So, for example, if at 3, I had taught my child to learn how to express themselves, to tell me, I feel sad, I'm happy, to learn how to express their emotions, it's easier for them. By the time they are 6 and they're more verbal and they have more vocabulary to express themselves, it's easier for them to actually express themselves without throwing tantrums, without having outbursts, right? But if I didn't teach it over those years, you will see that even at 6, even at 7, I'll still be having challenges with tantrums, challenges with my child expressing themselves. I can still teach it at 7, but because at then they're bigger and the explosions are more intense, it becomes more difficult than how it would have been if I started teaching it when they were 2, 3, that time that they were toddlers, right? So it's very, very important that we approach parenting with the mindset that this is a project. I'm not going to be on this project forever, right? This is a project that has a time limit on it, because what that does for you is that you're constantly checking to see if I'm on track, because we have 18 years to do this. Am I on track? What year are we in now? Am I on track, right? So I'll ask another question, because like I said, I want this to be interactive, right? So I just said that parenting is an 18-year project. So how old is your child now? So how many years more do you have to do parenting? If we say parenting is an 18-year project, right? How many more years, based on your child's age, how many more years do you have to do parenting? Because you have to have that in mind as you start to create your plan, right? Okay. Kodu Block says your child is 6, so that means you have 12 more years to do parenting. Yeah, any other person? Any other person wants to share? Any other person? There are many people on this broadcast, so I'm expecting your comment. Okay, 9 years, so that means you have 9 more years, just like me. Yes, 8. Okay, your oldest is 8. All right, interesting. So you have to have that in mind. Okay, someone says, Chiomi's view, is it that your child is 17 or that you have 17 more years? Okay, Onyi says my first child is 14 years, so I have 4 years. All right, so interesting. All right, we have people who have older children, so that's very interesting. Rashida says 15. All right, so you just have to have it at the back of your mind when you're creating, your parenting plan, to say, okay, how many more years do I have, to do parenting? So because that would also, form the background for whatever plan you want to create and how you want to do that. So creating a parenting plan just means that you're reflecting on the outcomes you want to see in your children and family, and then that you're consciously making solid plans to bring those outcomes to life. The first thing is reflection. Parenting has to do with a lot of reflection, right? So it's not just something you just do off of just like any other planning. You have to think about it. You have to reflect about it. You have to start with the end in mind, right? What outcomes do I want to see, right? And then when you have realized the outcomes, how do I consciously make solid plans to bring these outcomes to life, right? And why do you need a parenting plan? It helps to keep you guided and grounded. It helps you to stay focused. A lot of us jump from one training to the other, one this to the other, but you're not asking yourself, do I really need this information at this time? I understand maybe it's me, I don't know how it works for other people, but if I get information that I don't need, I may not use it, and I may not even realize when I need it, right? Yes, no knowledge is a waste, but when you have a plan, it's kind of like streamlines what you're looking for at a time. Do you get? So for instance, if the goal that you have with your child, this 2024 is that, okay, we're working on emotions. I'm teaching my child to verbalize their emotions, and then maybe a skill. We're working on teaching my little son to, learn how to target their pee, learn how to tie knot their shoelaces, learn how to take care of themselves and take care of their space. It's kind of like you're focused on those things. Number one, you can notice when you're making progress on those things, right? So you're not all over the place feeling like you're not achieving anything with your child. So it keeps you focused, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you guided, right? And you can actually measure your milestones. You can be grateful for the progress that you have made, right? It helps you stay organized as well, right? It helps you measure your progress. I've said that. And it helps you keep accountable. It helps you stay vision oriented. It helps you keep accountable with your child, with your partner, with family members who are helping you with your children, right? So it helps you keep them accountable to say, okay, this is what you need to teach, this is what you need to do, and all of that. That's why you need a parenting plan. So I don't know why this is like this. I'm using a different laptop, so it's kind of like I don't have PowerPoint on this laptop, so I messed it up. So I said here, start with the end in mind, right? What kind of 18-year-old do you want to have, right? So that's kind of like looking ahead, right? So what kind of 18-year-old child do you want to have? And when you're thinking about the kind of 18-year-old child you have, we're looking at what kind of relationship do you want to have with your child by the time they're 18 years old? What kind of relationship do you want your child to have with themselves by the time they are at that age? What kind of relationship do you want your child to have with others by the time they are that age? What kind of relationship do you want your child to have with God if you're a religious person by the time they are at that age, right? These are questions or things you need to keep in mind as you're making your plan, right? What kind of relationship do I want to have with my child? Do you want to have a child that at 18-year old you cannot even sit down and gist, as it was for many of us growing up, right? Do you want a child who doesn't know what it takes to actually build healthy friendships with his peers or with her peers? Do you want a child who doesn't understand the concept of God, the concept of prayer, the concept of having a personal relationship with God? Because it's your responsibility to actually teach these things, right? And then you're also thinking about behavior wise. What kind of behavior do I want to see in my children, at that age? What kind of values should I have instilled in them? So let me give you a few tricks when it comes to values, right? We've talked a lot about values, but however, one way I like to think about values is that, think about the values that have kept you grounded, the things that you were taught that have kept you, that have saved you from trouble, that have the values that you're living by, your principles you're living by, that has helped you, right? Also think about some of the values that you wish that you were taught, right? Because some of us, for example, I wish that somebody consciously taught me good work ethic. It's something that I had to learn in adulthood, right? So think about some of the things that you struggle with that you wish that maybe somebody consciously taught you, right? So that's how I look at values. So think about things you also see in others that you feel like they're great values that people live by, and you're seeing the result of, that value in them. And let them crystallize into the kind of values that you want to, put in your plan that you teach your child, and then also look at responsibility. How responsible do you want to, your child to be at that age? Responsible, with themselves, responsible with their properties, with their stuff, having responsible conversation, having responsible friends, right? So this is what you want to, think about, as in when you're thinking about the end you want to see, because the end will then inform, what you put in your plan, right? So the question I put here is, how are you faring at the moment, right? How are you faring at the moment when you're thinking about these things, right? How do you think you're faring? Are you on track? Have you started? Are you yet to start? Are you, is it that you do you have a great relationship with your child? For instance, have you started teaching your child about God? How are you faring in the moment, right? So what needs to change is the next questions. If you have, created the end in mind, you have seen that, okay, this is the kind of 18-year-old I want to have, and you have checked how you're faring, then you're not asking yourself, so what do we need to do, right? What do we need to teach? What are the things we need to be focusing on, especially this is the end of the year. In the coming year, what are the things we need to be focusing on, right? And this can be categorized in maybe behavior and personal responsibility. What behaviors do we need to start teaching, right? Because most children are young, most people here have young children. You also want to look at academics, right? How are they doing? Is your child just starting school? Is your child struggling with academics? Does your child need to improve in their academics? That's also an area to pay attention too. And then you also want to look at talents and interests, right? What have I noticed in my child? What is it that they love to do? Because it's one thing to just want to, pack activities or pack lessons that you want to teach your child in your plan. But like we talked about, I think the session on raising lifelong learners, right? In the whole process, you also want to infuse something that your child loves to do, because that motivates them to want to learn. right? So as you're creating your plan, make sure that you also impute, what your child loves to do, their talents, their interests, things that you need to develop. These things that we sorry, I was looking at the comment. So things that we need to develop, right? And the talents and interests that you need to develop, you need to focus on, and the skills, that you need to teach them. Someone says, because we are homeschooling and we take a holistic approach, this plan is what I've been doing for 3 years. Yes, Cuddle blog. Yeah, with homeschooling, yeah, you're most likely gonna do something like this. um can you share a sample of a parenting plan? If you're in the group, yeah, we might do something like that. So before your child leaves your home, they should be equipped with enough bank of knowledge, right? Bank of knowledge is, the knowledge and the awareness that your child needs to have before they leave your house. Things like emotional intelligence, things like media literacy, things like sex education, things like etiquette, things like goal setting, things like gratitude, how to ask questions and all of that, right? So we have I have this something I developed with my friend Irene, is about 100 and something or 400 and something skills that you need to teach your child before they turn 18. I would have to ask her permission before I share that with you guys, right? So grow bank of knowledge that you need to teach your child. There's a whole list of that you should be looking at to teach your child. Then you should also teach them how to take care of themselves, self-care skills, right? Self-care, like brushing their teeth for the younger ones, bathing properly, lacing their shoes, laundry for the older ones, cooking, how to make friends, dressing their beds, personal hygiene, right? These are like self-care skills, right? Then you have grower skills. Grower skills are like more like executive function skills, like skills that they would need in adulthood, skills that requires thinking and planning and stuff like that. So we're talking about budgeting, planning, organizing, fixing things, documenting, filing their documents, negotiating and stuff like that. So these are for older children, right? So, and then also teach your children ability to serve. Is important to, put part of the things that you're going to teach your children is something that doesn't have to be self-centric, something that is outside of themselves, right? Where they understand that everything doesn't revolve around them. They have to contribute to other people's life. They have to contribute to the community and all of that. And you can start teaching these things at home by, having them open doors, having them take your bag when you come back, having them fetch you water when you come back, or give you water to wash your hand when you come back, bathing their younger ones, helping do things around, volunteering for the older ones, right? So just kind of like give them that sense to understand that they need to serve. And serving in church, helping to arrange the chairs in church, getting to church early, helping to arrange the chairs in church and all of that. Like I said, there are just a whole bunch of skills. It may not be exhaustive, but it's quite a number of them, and it's quite helpful. I might share that, but I need to get permission from Irene to share that. And your plan should include how to teach these things. For each of these skills or this category of skills, there is the basic, there's the intermediate, and there's an advanced level. And this is based on the age of your children, right? So the basic can be from age 1 to 6, the intermediate can be from 6 to 12, and advanced level can be from 12 to 18 years of age. There is always a way to introduce these skills to your children when you're teaching them whatever skills that you choose based on the age of your children, and how to pass that information across. So I've just said all of this to say this is the process, all right, or what you need to do if you want to create your parenting plan. Number one is that you have to identify your areas of focus and approach, right? So identify based on the age of your child now. identify, your areas of focus: behavior and skills, academics, interests, right? So, and when it comes to skills, what skills are we teaching? Is it grower skills? Is it service to others? Is it self-care skills? Or is it knowledge that we want to impact their knowledge bank, right? So identify what skills you should be teaching. Then you have to document your plan, because I find out that this is the gap for some parents that I meet. They are actually doing something. They're actually doing something, and but because it's not documented, it looks like, they're not doing anything. Like, if you ask some parents, they're saying, "Oh, I don't have a parenting plan." But when you then kind of like get into having conversations with them, you realize that there's a kind of like flow to what they're doing. But because it's not documented, they feel like they're not actually doing anything, but they're actually doing something. So it's important to document, just like you do vision boards and you do goal setting, right? Do that for your parenting as well, and have a clear document as to what you're working on, so that you can measure your progress, right? And then part of your planning should be that, so for instance, if you have two children, there are different different personalities and different learning styles. So part of your planning would involve understanding the child you're dealing with, and how, to pass on that message or whatever you're trying to teach to that child. So for instance, if I'm trying to teach my child organization, right? I find out that, okay, my child is always scattered. Their room is always scattered. And one of the things I need to teach them is how to start organizing their things, how to start taking care of their space, right? And then I found out that my child's learning style is visual. If you don't know your child's learning style, I think we sent a link about how to know your child's learning style on the group. So you can use that. It will give you an idea of what your child's learning style is. So if my child's learning style is visual, right, it will be foolishness for me to sit down and start telling this child who is a visual learner that, okay, I just want you to start organizing your room, and then every morning I'm shouting, fold your clothes, make your bed and all of that. You will struggle, because that's not the child is not a verbal learner, right? So what one thing you could do, because you know the learning style of that child, is to now create a kind of like a checklist for the child and put it where the child can see it. So it's like, when you wake up, these are the things you need to do, and then you check it out, right? So that's why it's important to know your child's learning style, because it will then let you know how you can communicate, how you plan to teach, the things that you want to teach, or the things that you have in your plan, right? So you also want to identify possible obstacles and limitations and how to mitigate them. So one thing is having a plan, and another thing is to look ahead to say, okay, I've created this plan. So what are the things that can get in the way of me actually, implementing this plan, right? It can be money, it can be time, it can be support available to you. So for instance, you have a child, and one of the things you're looking at is to help this child with maybe their talents and their interests, right? Let's say this child is interested in music, or is interested in learning keyboard, and you feel like the best way to do it is outside of the house, to go to a music school. But then you're a career mom and your time does not permit you, right? So this is an obstacle. So even though you have it in your plan, you might have it in your plan, but there's a limitation or something that is in the way of you getting that plan executed. And if you don't think about it, then you're going to struggle with it. And one of the things that make people not to plan is when they're not able to implement their plan. So if I create a plan for 2024 and I'm not able to implement it, what is likely to happen is that by 2025, I'm like, after all, I created one in 2024, but nothing changed, nothing happened. I did not do anything with it. I beg, let's go with the flow. So it's important for you to look ahead at the possible obstacles and limitations and how to mitigate them. So for this person who is maybe a career person, very busy, but is looking to improve this their child's talents of learning music or learning a keyboard, right? You want to then start looking at, okay, what's the support available to me? Can I delegate this to somebody, right? Is my spouse available to pick this child on Thursday evenings and take them for their music lessons and bring them back? Or is my mom or my dad available? Do they live around, to take these kids? Or is there a way we can adjust? Can we get a home music lesson teacher? So just, think ahead. What are the possible obstacles and limitations? And sometimes the obstacles can be in it as well. It can be you, right? Maybe your lack of emotional intelligence, or you struggle with anger, you're not able to patiently teach your child, or let's say one of your goals, or one of the things you have in your plan is to um let's say for instance improve your relationship with your children, right? So you want to improve your relationship with your child, you want to bond more with them, you want to play more, because I get that a lot. I get a lot of parents who say, I don't know how to play, right? My children want to play, but I just don't know how to play. So if that is you and that is what you want to do, right? And you're looking at what are the possible obstacles, what are the limitations? So the limitations might be you, it might be internal limitations, it might be something going on inside of you, it might be something coming from your past, right? That makes you your attachment style, you're not able to attach to your children, you're not able to express that childlikeness that you need to build that kind of relationship with you. And then you start to think about, you just bring it to awareness, and then you start to think about putting in effort. And what that awareness does for you is that when you catch yourself withdrawn and not able to express yourself, you put in effort to do that. And there are other ways, things like journaling your thoughts, journaling how you feel, things like meditation that can help you, get into your inner child and, do some work and heal yourself some more, so that you can show up in a way that is more relaxing and more able to connect with your child and build that relationship that you want to build with your child. So essentially what I'm saying is, as you're creating your plan, document it, and then as you're documenting it, also look at what are the possible limitations, right? That can come in the way. Are we together? Or am I just talking to myself? Because the comment section is quiet. All right. So Phoebe says, this is me. I actually have an undocumented plan. Amazing. Okay. It's important to have a clear document. Yes, it is. You know, yeah. Somebody, Oji Oko says, what are the age appropriate skills to teach? Okay. I'll get to that at the end when I'm answering questions. All right. So create your plan, document, identify your plan, identify the skills you want to teach, document it, identify the possible obstacles and limitations and how to mitigate them. Then create a structure. Another thing that can get in the way of you actually implementing your plan is not having a structure, right? So it can be, so for instance, you have a child who has a lot of energy, right? And one of the things that you want to do is, for instance, this year, you want to stop shouting at this child. You want to improve your relationship. You want to, teach the child to actually manage themselves and not play where they're not supposed to play, right? If that is one of your plan, for example, then you have to create a structure. You don't just say, oh, I don't want my child to be playing and scattering the living room, and then you have not created your home to give that child, because that's again one of the things we talked about knowing the child that you're creating that plan for. This child has energy, this child has to play, right? So if you're saying, okay, so far our house is so disorganized, this child is always making me to shout because of how they're doing things, and I want this to stop. I don't want our relationship to be stiff or stilled, and I want to organize. I don't want my space to also be disorganized as much, right? Then create a structure around your home that allows your child to get that place that they need to use their energy, and also gives your space some sanity, right? So what am I saying? If you have the space, you want to create a structure where maybe you have a play area for the children where they can scatter and then organize when they are done. If you have an outdoors, you want to create a structure where maybe you're taking your child out for 30 minutes on or 1 hour in a day so that they can get some play. So when they come inside, sorry, excuse me. So when they come inside, they're a little bit more relaxed and then they're not using their energy to scatter all of that all over the place. So create a structure, create a flow, right? In whatever the plan you have created. How is it going to work? What structure do we need to put in place to make sure that this thing is working? What do we need to change around the house, right? What do we need to change around our routine, right? What do we need to get hands on? So for some of you, some of your plan might mean that maybe you need to get help, right? Even if you don't want a living help, it might mean that you need to get someone to come and clean or come and cook or whatever works for you and the dynamics of your family. So for instance, if you decide that I want to spend my plan needs me to spend more time with my children, and you're finding out that there are a lot of chores and domestic work that doesn't allow you to spend as much time with your children, then your plan might need to involve you getting help, right? So that you can then spend more time with your children to teach those things that you want to teach them or to create that relationship that you want to create with them. So that's, around creating a structure, and then teach, right? Now that you have clearly what you want to teach, or what you're working on with your child per time, per month or per quarter or per year, then your question is, how do I teach it, right? And you must be able to teach, right? Because another thing that happens is that you have documented your plan, or you have a plan in your head, and you just feel that okay, the child will just know, or the child will just grow into it. No, you must teach the child. You cannot expect a child to know something that you have not taught them, right? So for instance, you have a 3-year-old, right? You have to take your time, teach them how to brush their teeth. So initially you start by brushing it for them. Then after some time, you allow them to brush it while you're watching and seeing how they're doing it and correcting and guiding them, right? Then after some time, you allow them to start brushing by themselves. It's the same thing with every other thing. You have a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old, and you're trying to teach them how to organize their space, how to clean up after themselves, right? So the same thing, you have to do it with them. So you come in, the toys are scattered all over the place, right? So you bring the toy basket and you're doing it, and you're telling your child, okay, look at how I'm doing it. I'm putting the big toys in this basket, I'm putting the small toys in this basket, right? And after putting it, I push it to this end of the room. You're showing them. The next time you're doing it, you try to get the child involved, and both of you are doing it together, right? So, all right, let me sort the big toys, and you sort the small toys and put them in that basket. I'm putting my own in this bucket. You do it together, right? Then as you progress with doing it together, you take your time, do it together. After some time, you then allow the child to start doing it by themselves. You can supervise when they're doing it, and after some time, they gain independence. And once you just tell them, all right, clear up your toys, they know what to do, and they're able to do it because you have showed them how to do it, and you have done it with them, you have supervised, and now they're confident enough to do it by themselves. What happens sometimes is that we don't give enough time to teaching, we don't give time for learning to happen, and then we give up, or we snap at the children, or we're shouting at them. And when you shout at them in the middle of teaching, or in the middle of them trying to learn what you have taught, what happens is that they think that they are dumb. They think that, oh, mom has taught me this thing and I'm not even able to learn it, right? And that can make them give up from actually learning what you're trying to teach them. So you also want to be patient with them, right? Take time, teach them, go over it, and allow learning to happen. Then you want to document your progress, right? You want to document your progress, because it really can be tough, right? For some people, you can think that you're not making progress. But progress looks different for different people. And depending on the skill, depending on the behavior that you're trying to teach. So for instance, in academics, progress might be linear, right? It can be that, oh, he didn't know 2 times table, but now he can say 2 times table, and that's the progress, right? But for some other skills, the progress might not be very visible, right? So it might be in frequency or in length of time. It might be that your child used to take 5 minutes to do something, but now they are not but now they're now taking 3 minutes or 1 minute to do that. That's still progress, right? It can be that your child used to scatter the whole place, but now they fix their bed, but they have not learned how to clear up their toys. That's progress. So watch out for any progress at all that you have made, right? And then document the progress, because that's also an encouragement to show you that what you're doing is working. And then always review your plan, right? So you can decide when and how you want to review. Some people might say they review quarterly, other people might say they review biannually, and while some other people might say they review annually, right? So this is the end of the year. This is naturally when many people like to review their plans. For me, I review biannually, and then sometimes I review annually, and sometimes you may not really need to wait for the time of your review to actually go back to your reviewing, but something can come up, right? Maybe your child's behavior, or your child might just learn as in faster than you have presumed, and you find out that that particular thing you're trying to teach your child, they have already learned it, and then you strike it out and you add something to it, and you continue to teach your child. So I'm planning to have a retreat with parents. I don't know if anybody have a question at this point before I talk about that. Any question? Does anybody have a question so far? Because I think that's about that. Any question about how to create your parenting plan? Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? Yes, document your process. Very important. Yelling makes your child think that they are dumb. Yeah. So does anybody have a question up until now? Okay, someone says we would like to see one. All right. Yeah. Does any other person have to see one? Does any other person have a question? William Obeng says, okay, so yeah, for people who are asking, what are the skills to be taught? And people who are saying they want to see a sample of a parenting plan. I actually have one. I have done I have done parenting planning retreats with parents. We started in 2020. We did one in 2020, 2021. I think we didn't do in 2022, right? And I'm planning to have another one. And yes, in that retreat, we have a 54-page document, right, where we talk about all of these skills, how to plan it, how to measure with tables that you need to fill in as you progress and all of that. So yes, you can actually see, a sample parenting plan. So somebody said, what executive function goals? With executive function goals, how does one measure progress with ADHD? Okay, so Olufumike, right? So it depends, right? It actually depends. So ADHD is a special case, right? So it depends on how the ADHD impacts the child in question. So for instance, you can measure really. So for instance, I'm currently working with an autistic child, right? And for the longest of time, this child could not sit at a place to eat his food. So if he wanted to eat, he will stand, he will grab his chicken nuggets, and he will have to move around and be eating it and stuff like that. But last week, when we went out for our session, he sat down and he ate his food throughout. So that is progress for me. So it depends on what how the ADHD is affecting, the child in question, right? So what are they struggling with? Is it attention? Is it compulsive behavior? Is it hyperactivity, right? So whatever it is, you then watch and see if there has been a progress, right? So it can be in the intensity of the hyperactivity. So for instance, when they have a meltdown, right? If initially it used to take like 10 minutes to calm down, right? Is it now taking 5 minutes? Is it now taking 3 minutes, right? What is the when they start being hyperactive, right? How long did you used to take? Has it reduced now? So that's how you can measure progress. I don't know if that answer your question, right? Someone says, what is the age appropriate skills to teach? So it depends on the age of the child, and it depends on the skills that the child already has. So one 3-year-old child might be ahead of another 3-year-old child. So that is why it is called your unique family's parenting plan. Is based on your children. So look at your children. What are the challenges, that you're seeing with your children? What are the behaviors, that you're struggling with, right? And look at it based on. So this is why I always say that every parent needs to have an idea of developmental milestones, right? So you put your children, look, what are the skills that they're supposed to have, learned by now, by their age? What are the things that that are they supposed to know by now? Do you understand? And then that informs the foundation of what your plan should have. And then we have this document, like I said, is like 100 and something skills that you need to teach your children before they turn 18. And we categorize it that each of them, you can teach it at the basic level, at the intermediate level, and at the advanced level based on, the age of your children. Basic will be 1 to 6 years old, intermediate will be 6 to 8, and 6 to 12, and advanced will be 12 to 18, right? So the skills would vary for different people. So someone says, how do you handle a child that would always argue when you're trying to guide them, especially a teenager, right? So because I know who you are, and because I have a bit of a background of that challenge for you, I'd say that the foundation of this problem is relationship, right? There's a rift in the relationship from the beginning, right? So now, can we just shift a bit of focus from actually trying to guide and correct to actually mending the relationship, right? If we get back to the foundation of the relationship and we get to the point where we have mended this relationship and made this child to understand that we're actually on the same side, then you can make progress. And one of the ways to do this is to refrain from judging, refrain from criticizing, have more conversation, have more bonding moments, just be an observer, right? Even when you want to correct, don't because they're already expecting it. They're already expecting that you're gonna judge them based on the history of your relationship. You want to surprise them by not being that person who is always out to judge, right? So you can use phrases like, what do you think? You can use phrases like, this is what I suggest, this is what I recommend, not like you must do this, you should do this, right? So say, this is what I suggest and this is why. This is what I recommend and this is why. Because if you do it like this, this is what could happen. And what this does for you, it may not guarantee that they will do what you want them to do. But what this does for you is that you have made a recommendation, you have given reason for your recommendation, and you have told them the possible consequence if they do not take your recommendation. So what happens is that at the end of the day, if they go by their own way and they experience that consequence that you have, you have told them, it logs into them that you know better, right? It logs into them that you actually have your facts together. So it's not about emotions. It's more about, especially for teenagers and older children, it's more about facts. It's more about making them see reasons for what you want them to do, right? So first, start with the relationship, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. What if the case is that you have limited time, 3 to 4 years with your children, to avoid overload? So if you have 3 to 4 years, of course, if you have 3 to 4 years, it's not like your child doesn't know some things, right? So you're looking at where you people are now, right? So where do we start? So in terms of, okay, do we need to mend our relationship? You just start. You have 3 to 4 years. The earlier you start, the better. So don't overthink it. Start one step at a time. It's better that you got some things in within that 3 to 4 years than you did not do anything at all because you are thinking that you have lost a lot of time, right? Yeah. So what are the basic skills, please? Can you name them? I don't know. Audio confident. I don't know your child's age. I don't know your child's age, but if you join us for the retreat, then maybe I'll be able to address your case personally, right? So so I'm planning to review my parenting plan next month by God's grace. So I'm planning to do that, and I want to invite you to come and join me. It will be like a weekend retreat. Is one day, please. When I say weekend, is not a whole weekend, right? So it will be a retreat where we reflect, we rejuvenate, and we re-strategize. So essentially, I can look at, what you're doing, the age of your children, and we can come up with a documented plan for you to, then go back home and implement. We'll also look at your child's learning style and how you can implement those plans, right? So if this is something that you would love to be part of, right, I'm inviting you to join me. But I need to see that this is something I'm bringing it out to everyone here now. So, but I need to see in the comments that you will like this, and then I'll give further information. So is this something that you will like? So Ojioko says 2 and 4 years. So it depends. So for your 2 years, 2 years is toddlerhood, so you can start teaching them how to, and this is actually the point where you start teaching them how to name their emotions. So for my son, I have a 6-year-old son. I have a 9-year-old daughter, but my son is more emotionally aware than my daughter because we started on time. So we started to teach him how to name his emotions, and all of those things. So for 2 and 4 years old, start teaching them how to name their emotions, start teaching them how to clean up after themselves. This is when they can, take that your 4-year-old can take their plates to the kitchen after eating, clean up their table and stuff like that. There are a whole bunch of things, right? If it's relationship that you're looking at, this is to do your bonding activities with them. I'm going to share a resource for, activities you can do with your children to help them bond, to help you bond with them. So if you're in the group, you're going to get that resource for free, right? So there are a lot of things that you need to that you can teach 2 to 4-year-old at that basic level, and start having those conversations. Someone said, I want to believe that we should not do this. I've lost that comment though. I want to believe that we should not do this with fear, especially for those of us who have shorter times. Yes. So I need to talk about this, right? So anything that stems from fear doesn't really work, because what fear does is that fear paralyzes you. Fear doesn't let you think clearly, right? Like I said when I started, this is not to make anybody feel like, you have done something wrong or you have wasted your time. If you haven't started anything, even if your child is 18 years already, you can still do something. So don't do anything from the place of fear. Anything you're doing from the place of fear won't really work, right? So because fear paralyzes your thinking brain. So you need to have a clear mind to actually do what you need to do. So don't be afraid. You'll be fine. Just start from where you are. So a lot of you said you want to join, that retreat. So I'm inviting you to join me. It will happen in December. I'm not sure, either the first or second week of December. Yeah. And so we'll come together. It will be online, obviously. We'll come together. We'll reflect, right? And like Bridget says, one of the things we're gonna do, one of the exercises we're gonna do is that we're gonna also look at forgiveness, right? We're gonna do an exercise that helps you forgive yourself, because most times that we have done these things, we have seen a lot of parents who are like filled with so much regrets and feeling like they've done wrong and all of that. So we start with forgiveness, we retreat, we reflect on what we have done so far, and then we'll create a unique parenting plan. And then, like I said, we have the documents where we'll share with you, that you would so for instance, like this resource is a 52 weeks of conscious parenting, right? So you have places for reflection, for activities, and for journaling your progress, is a resource. Then we also have the one for you to document your plan and how to review them, right? So if you want to join for that retreat, right, here is it. So for everyone who has registered or everyone who is here, there is a fast action bonus. I'll come to the questions in the group. There is a fast action bonus of 24 hours, fast action bonus, just 5,000 naira, right? If you're interested in the retreat, right? After the 24 hours, then it goes back to 10,000 naira. Okay, so it's gonna be in the second week of December or after the second week of December, because this says till 16 December, right? So after the 24 hours, the price goes to 10,000 naira, and on the 10th of December, the price goes up to 15,000 naira. So if you are currently on this stream, I would encourage you to take the fast action bonus, which is just 5,000 naira, and that is a commitment fee, because most times when you do these things for free, people really take it for granted, right? So this is me saying, come and plan with me so that we will have a plan for our 2024, and you would not do the same thing that you have done over and over again, right? Okay, how can someone access the skills you said our children should learn before they are 18? Right. So everybody who joins the retreat will access that skill. I'm still thinking if I should make it open to everyone in the group, who registered for the summit and in the group, because we have a lot of resources that we want to send out to people in the group. But for sure, everyone who joins for the retreat to get that resource. It's part of that 54-page document that we will give you when you sign up for the retreat, right? So if you want to take a screenshot of this, for those who are in the abroad, you can just send a message and we'll send you the link for this payment, right? Yeah, so there's a question I missed. Yeah. All right. So is there any other question? So this is about the retreat, right? So that's the information about the retreat. That's the information about the retreat. Okay, what exactly do you mean by naming your emotion? So for younger children, right, there's a concept that is called name it to tame it. And the science behind that is that when you name your emotions, right, most times when your emotions are all over the place, you actually why it's like that is because you actually cannot name how you feel, right? So you carry that emotion for a longer time than necessary. So it is believed that when you teach children to name how they feel and they can talk about it, then they're able to process the emotion, easier and faster, right? So naming your emotion is like kind of like teaching your child to process and think about how they feel, right? So when your child is crying, so instead of thinking that why they're crying, actually ask them how they feel. Are they feeling sad? Are they scared? Are they feeling frustrated? Teaching them how to name their emotions. And when they're happy, also to name their emotions, right? So, yeah. Um, when you make payment, send me a message, right? When you make payment, okay, check in the group, Cheso. Cheso, can you put your contact in the chat for people to confirm, to send a message to you when they make payment, right? Yeah. How can we yeah, so someone says is the 5K for the 52 weeks. So the 5K is for the retreat, but then you get the workbook, which is for the 52 weeks, right? The workbook is for the 52 weeks. It's a week by week, guide on how to reflect on what you have done for the week, the progress you have made, and stuff like that. Yeah, so for the 52 weeks, yeah, the workbook, but then the retreat is for a day, right? And if you're in the Parent Summit WhatsApp group, we're also dropping resources on a weekly basis for you there. Yeah, free resources. Yeah, but for those who will join this retreat, it is for a day, and then you get the 52 weeks workbook. So that is that. In the absence of any other question, please, the updates should be sent to the group. All right, yes, the updates will be sent to the group. Cheers. So please, if you're on the broadcast, kindly send the updates to the group. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, really diving deeper into this during the retreat, and having everyone walk into 2024 with their own unique parenting plan. So it's much easier when you have it clearly written out and you know what you're doing and you can teach that, right? So come join me and let's retreat, let's reflect, and let's rejuvenate. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being part of Parent Summit Africa 2023. It has been an amazing ride. Each session has been very revealing, very eye-opening, and I'm hoping that this wouldn't just be business as usual for us. I'm hoping that by the time we come in for Parent Summit Africa 2024, that we will be different people, that we would have grown, right? I'm not in Nigeria at the moment, right? But I have had a lot of people who reach out to me for speaking engagements, and I'll go to my groups, where I have my students, and I'll look for a student who participated in class, and I'm like, can you go and speak at this place? And they're like, why do you want me to go and speak? I said, because you have been in my group, I've taught you, and I believe that you know what to say when you go there. So this is what I believe for everybody who encounter our teachings and everything. I believe that at some point you also become an ambassador of what we're doing here, and that you can take this message to your community, adapt it, and teach it to people, right? So I don't expect that you keep coming year after year, and you are not you're not improving, right? So I believe that at some point you should even become a teacher and teach other people what you're learning, right? So that is the goal for me when I do all of these things. So please go back to all of these lessons, learn them, distill them, create your plan, and implement. By the time we come back in 2024, let it be that we are recruiting other people, and that we have grown. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eloho. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the retreat. And we'll have so much fun, so many exercises and all of that. So see you. See you there. Take care. Bye.
What we do with Parent Summit Africa is to help parents experience an awakening that will cause them to take a part to creating a change in themselves individually, as well as commit to raising a wholesome 21st century child. And as we do this collectively, we are building the kind of society that we want to see. Our mission with the Parent Summit Africa is to create a platform that equips parents with the skills, strategies, and resources for self-transformation and raising wholesome children. Our vision is to effect social and societal change through parenting education, especially to change the narrative of Africa and the African child. Hi, my name is Vivian Okoye. I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. I'm a certified child psychologist, a parent coach, and a trained doctor of optometry. Parent Summit Africa is powered by our online parenting school, the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. We started Parent Summit Africa in 2017 to gather parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant conversations around raising a wholesome 21st century child, as well as thinking about our contribution to sustainable development and nation building. We do this because we believe that at this point, our plan as a nation for sustainable development should shift its focus from just systems, institutions, and policies to actually creating a plan and strategy for a change in the attitude and mindset of its people. Because the people drive these institutions, the systems, and the policies. So if on an individual level we're able to get it right with our attitude and our mindsets, then we can drive the institutions and policies in the right direction. Until we are able to do this, until we're able to create change in attitude and mindset on an individual level, then we will not experience